Genesis. Didn't get myself hooked up quite right. It's good to see everybody. I'm glad for those of you who are standing, please remain standing. For those of you who are sitting, please stand and let's sing our opening song together, All Is Well.
In the spirit of celebration, we're grateful in the brilliance of life's perfection. We're grateful for the blessings already given. In the goodness of God we're living, in the finished kingdom of heaven, and all is well. All is in the spirit of celebration, we're grateful in the brilliance of life's perfection. We're grateful for the blessings already given. In the goodness of God we're living, in the finished kingdom of heaven, and all is well. All is
So glad to have you here, Thomas. I hear you harmonizing. I love it every time. I'm so glad to see everybody here this morning. It's good to be with family, and I consider you part of my family. My name is Karen Williams, and I'm a spiritual practitioner here at Genesis. I'm going to be your host today. Our online host is Eric, yes. And if you're watching on Facebook, please say hello to everyone in the chat and kind of create your own community there. Share your reactions and make that connection. We read together every Sunday our mission and vision statement, so I'm going to ask you to join me in doing that right now. Our mission: we are building a vibrant community, cultivating a garden of spiritual growth, honoring vulnerability, creating a safe place of comfort and peace where all are welcome and accepted. Our vision: Genesis is a bright beacon with an unshakable heart of love, accepting all. A home for the soul where we each creatively express our spiritual brilliance. I hope that you get to see and experience that spiritual brilliance as you celebrate with us today and every day, truly, because that is what we are. Spiritual brilliance. Yes. Thank you. For our first-time guests, we don't have any first-time guests, so I'm going to skip that if you don't mind. So we're going to get back up, though, and do our meet and greet, because we didn't get to say hi to everybody already this morning. So let's do that now. Skip right over announcements this morning, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. We have name tags available back here against the back wall. It just helps us foster connection, just in case we're not familiar. We have people who don't come that often, or first, second timers might not know each of us, so we can put that on. That makes it helpful. We're still looking for greeters at the door for the morning as part of our volunteer welcome team. Please see Cynthia in the back welcome table if you're interested in giving a Sunday of your month to that volunteer position. We're grateful to have received a generous stock donation, and we've now made it easier than ever to give online. So if you feel inspired to give a donation in that form or any other, or know someone who might, please visit Genesis CSL .org/donate-here. I think I got my slashes and my dashes and my T's crossed and my I's dotted.
Virtual and paper.
It's just a way to continue to support Genesis and helping Genesis grow. Our Genesis visioning session will meet every first Thursday. Look for the Zoom address in your emails. That just happened this past Thursday, so you're going to have to wait until August to do that, but we will continue to remind you that that is happening so that you can be a part of the vision of what is wanting to emerge for Genesis, as Genesis, in Genesis, all the ways. Our book study will meet today after service. We're reading this one, The Four Spiritual Laws of Prosperity by Edwin Gaines. If you don't have a book, that's not a problem. We can share books, we can just listen. There's all kinds of options. Just drop in. It's not required you need to be here to read every single page. I'd be happy to see you. I'd like to take this time to thank everyone that's in service today. We have what we call our setup and cleanup crew who comes in the morning and lays all this out so that when we walk in, it looks and feels great. And then we all pitch in and take it all down. Our primary contributors to that endeavor are our guys in the back, on our projector and video, Mike and Eric, and our sound tech, Jim. So they're obviously always here first thing in the morning so they can get all the wires hooked up and plugged in. Good job.
Thank you.
We sound great. You usually make us sound great. Our online host, as I said, is Eric. We have a vigil practitioner, that is Rose, Reverend Rose, and she is sitting in the back. So she's kind of holding the energy and the vibe and making sure that we stay on point energetically. So thank goodness for Reverend Rose. She was also our morning greeter, our greeter this morning. Our food for fellowship after service is provided by one of our care circles, and that care circle is called God in Form. Thank you. We're so grateful for those who show up in service on Sundays. We could not pull all this together without you. If you would like to join officially on a specific Sunday or every Sunday, that volunteer team, please connect with Gideon, who is at the welcome table currently, or on info@genesiscsl.org during the week after the service, or inquire at the welcome table. All right, I've done all my things. Check, check, check. So I'm always in a hurry, like, to get to this portion of the service, like right now. When we get to go deeper, when we get to, if we haven't already, kind of get inside, check in at a deeper level, open up just a little bit more. And so we do that by beginning with our song, Breathe and Turn Within. And then I will do a little spiritual practice with the gong, where we breathe together, 3 gongs, and then I'll have a reading and a prayer, and then another song. So Becca Palm is going to begin this part of our service with Breathe and Turn Within.
love.
I'm reading from 365, Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes, July 6. I am comforted by the promises of God. Blessed by the Lord, there hath not failed one word of his good promise. 1 Kings 8:56. The Bible is filled with divine promises revealed through the spiritual intuition of great souls. We are promised long life and happiness, riches and abundance, health and success. The Bible contains more promises than any other book ever written and tells us to accept that these promises are not vague, uncertain things. More particularly, it tells us that these promises are being fulfilled right now, in the day in which we live now. Beloved, now are we the sons of God. We need not wait to enter into the fulfillment of these promises. They are eternally given and wait only on our acceptance. This acceptance is a mental as well as a spiritual act. It is the mind accepting its highest hope in complete confidence, placing its entire reliance on a power greater than itself. And allow Ernest's affirmations to sink in. Today I accept the divine promises. I accept them with the simplicity of a child, with the joy of one who receives his good and grateful acknowledgement of the all-sustaining beauty. I accept divine guidance watching over me. I accept the enveloping presence of the life that sustains me. I accept the beauty and the peace of this presence. I accept happiness and success. I accept health and wholeness. I accept love and friendship. I realize that what rightfully belongs to me also rightfully belongs to everyone else. Therefore, I promise myself and all others to live as though the kingdom of God were at hand for all people. I accept a good beyond my fondest imagination, beyond my greatest dream, knowing that this good that I accept will flow through me into complete expression. He shall give to me even more abundantly than I have asked. For the promise of God, the promises of God, are as certain as life, as immutable as law, as personal as the air I breathe. Today, I accept my good. And so from that place of wholeness, of good, of beauty, of joy, of life itself, it's knowing that it's the only thing that's happening. That's it, life unfolding eternally. Infinite supply. I know that I am sourced by that infinite supply. That infinite supply vibrates at the very center of every cell of my body. This is true for all beings everywhere. Infinite supply. There's no lack, no limitation. Any story that you see or hear or read that tells of lack and limitation is not centered on the truth that God is our source and supply, that life is eternal, that we are eternal, that when we shed this mortal skin, we continue. This story that we're co-creating is just that. It's a story. And it is up to us to make it a story of good. embracing and accepting that good. Turn away from evil and turn toward the good, the true, and the beautiful, and create that. Participate in that. Be that. This is the power that we have of the presence that lives in each of us. And I accept this as being true for me and true for all beings everywhere. And I celebrate, I give thanks that I have co-conspirators in creating good. Might you all co-conspire, that you'll conspire. Let's breathe that same breath of the good, the true, and the beautiful. Right? I give thanks for Reverend James as he's made himself available to Genesis, that Genesis is alive and vital, authentically expressing an invitation to those who want to express authentically. We are here. We are that beacon. I give thanks for these things and for so much more, for the unfolding of this service, knowing that it continues the word that has been initiated. I let it go, I let it be, and together we say, and so it is. And Becca Palm.
Eternal, always available, one breath at a time, one step at a time. Walk the labyrinth, I'm here to walk the labyrinth. Walk the labyrinth, come walk the labyrinth. Ancestors before me traveled the labyrinth, seeking truth. Beacons in the night, they left a lighted way for me and you. This sacred ancient path has been handed down through time for each of us to walk and encounter the divine. Letting go of worldly cares, peace surrounds this place. I find my feet, I feel my breath, honoring my pace. Weaving around the path, I face my hidden tears and stumble in the dark, holding back my fears. With each step by step, I draw near to my goal. Step by step, I journey to the center of my soul. I seek the truth of my divinity. With my feet and breath I pray, and I call on the saints and the pilgrims who led the way. Walk the labyrinth. I'm here to walk the labyrinth. Walk the labyrinth. Come walk the labyrinth. Shadows unfold into jewels like the petals of a rose, and tears give way to serenity and the union of our souls. Our doubts drift away as we untangle what's untrue. We're not alone in the work we're called to do. step by step we draw nearer to our goal. Step by step we journey to the center of our soul, and we seek the truth of our divinity. With our feet and breath we pray. We call on the saints and the pilgrims who led the way. I seek the truth of my divinity. With my feet and breath I pray. I call on the saints and the pilgrims who led the way. On this sacred ancient path that's been handed down through time for each of us to walk and encounter the divine.
I love that. Thank you for that Labyrinth song, Becca. I'm a huge Labyrinth fan. At a point when I had deep illness within my family, one of the things we would do is we'd walk labyrinths regularly. It's a way to literally pray and move your feet, and it brought us through that time. And so it's a powerful symbol, and I think because people have been using labyrinths for at least 4,300 years, we know it's a tried and true technology. So let's say our affirmation together. In this moment, I remember the truth of who I am. One more time. In this moment, I remember the truth of who I am. And the in this moment is important because when we're recognizing it in this moment, it's in real time. Otherwise, if we're recognizing the truth of who we are at any other moment, it's a story. We're making it up. But in this moment, we can recognize the truth of who we are. So one of the things I like to talk about is looking for bright spots in the world. There's so many bad things happening, and we have a tendency to, we have a problem bias. When we see a problem, we want to look at it and tackle it. Somebody who looks on the bright side of things is often, considered to be, what do they call it? Eternal optimist. I was thinking of a bad thing. Pollyanna, thank you. Yeah, so, and we don't want to be Pollyannas, but we don't want to be the opposite. We don't want to be Debbie Downer, doom and gloom. We want to notice when good things are happening. So there's a place in the world where you wouldn't expect a lot of good things to be happening. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, this is a country that's been in civil war for decades. And there's a city, Goma, gotta get the name right, on Lake Kivu. So Goma on Lake Kivu is a city, it's got 1 million people who live there. And you can see why they might want to live there. It's got this lake nearby. It's elevated in the middle of Africa, and so basically the temperature year-round is between upper 50s at night and mid-70s during the day. So it's got ideal temperature, but it's got a civil war. And it has hundreds of thousands of refugees from the Civil War who sort of gather there. They probably heard how nice it is. And it has been taken over a couple of times. Right now it's in the hands of the rebel forces. It was in the hands of the rebel forces about 20 years ago, and the government took it back and held it for 20 years, and now it's got the rebel forces. So why am I, this sounds like gloom and doom. But what happened is they've installed renewable energy. They have a megawatt solar-powered grid that they installed. And it actually gives 1.5 megawatts of power, and this is enough to give power to the entire city. It powers the water purification plant, it powers the grain mills, it powers everybody's homes, it powers businesses, it powers street lights. Street lights, you wouldn't think, I come from an astronomy family, and so street lights were always the bad guy because they kept us from seeing the stars. But over here, the nice thing about street lights is it keeps the criminals from mugging you. Crime is way down since they brought street lights in, because you can see, in fact, when they first brought street lights in, people began singing and dancing in the lights at night. And this just from an investment of a power plant. So there's still, the rebel forces are in charge, the government forces wish they were in charge. So there's still a little bit of fighting going on. But it turns out that the government forces and the rebel forces, both of them enjoy the electricity, and they don't want to get rid of, like, a good thing. And so they're staying away from the solar farms. They're staying away from, they're not shooting at the power poles. They're leaving the electricity alone when they fight. And in fact, sometimes when the fighting gets too close to the solar farms, the people of the city will go and gather in front of it just to sort of protect it, because they know it's that important to them to have electricity. They had diesel electricity before, but it was twice as expensive. It was noisy, it was stinky, and it was unreliable. It kept breaking down. And the solar, they have a battery station there that holds enough electricity that they have electricity all night, even when it's cloudy. And they've recently connected the grid to a hydroelectric grid on Lake Kivu so that they can bolster each other's electricity. The hydro people, when there's less water going on, they can get electricity from the solar. The hydro people can give electricity to the solar at night when the sun doesn't shine. So this has worked out so well for Goma City that they're going to be installing way more of these, about 100 more of these in sub-Saharan Africa. Right now, 585 million people who live in sub-Saharan Africa have no electricity or unreliable electricity. And in the next 10 years, they have plans to give 150 million of them electricity, completely renewable electricity. So this is a good thing. One of my friends moved to Hawaii a few years ago because he wanted to install this kind of power plant, this solar mini-grid, on Pacific Islands. And there are a bunch of Pacific Islands which have got them. Some of Samoa has got it. American Samoa got a $100 million grant to build themselves a renewable solar grid, and we hope they spend it. We hope it doesn't get clawed back by a government that's hostile to renewable energy. But it is, so far they've got it, and it's on the way. Fiji, Tonga, New Guinea, Solomon Islands, lots of the South Pacific is moving away from diesel-powered plants, having to ship diesel across the Pacific to completely renewable, reliable solar. It's more reliable because it's got no moving parts, so nothing to wear out. You just have to keep the solar panels clean. A little squeegee, I think you're good. So it's nice to see that, even in a place like the Democratic Republic of the Congo, you get to see, a place where they've had civil wars, for so many years. They've got a moment of brightness, and the people on both sides can agree that renewable energy is something that we all support. I'm going to read. The reading today is from a book by Alexis Pauline Gumbs called Undrowned, Black Feminist Lessons from Marine Mammals. And it's about embracing the wisdom passed down through generations and shedding patterns that no longer serve us. So Alexis says, I wonder what it means for an ocean dolphin to swim up a river. The bottlenose has a range across the whole planet, the whole open ocean, and yet sometimes they'll choose the boundaries and specificity of a river, brackish water, narrow shores. Why? The message, it's about specificity, about choosing a lane with all my infinite potential, about how Alexis's world-traveling grandmother made a commitment to a small island, about how strong we can grow swimming upstream, about what the world can learn from the visibility of our message in a context that is specific enough to ring clear, and to trust that all water touches all water everywhere. We can bring the good, the true, and the beautiful wherever we go. And for all of you ocean dolphins wondering, what am I doing in this river full of mud? Remember why Harriet Tubman went south. Remember, Harriet Tubman grew up as an enslaved person, but when she was in her 20s, she saw a couple of her siblings sold away from the family, and she said, I can't live like this. And she went, and she was free, but it wasn't enough to be free. She went back down to free all her family members. And after she'd freed all her family members, she went back down and freed really anybody else she could find. She made dozens of trips and freed hundreds of people, culminating with, during the Civil War, in a gunboat. They went up a river and they freed everybody on every plantation that was on the shores of the river. And they told the people they freed to go and tell all the other enslaved people that they were free too. They brought back almost 1,000 people with them on the boat, and I think they left a bunch more free people wandering around South Carolina. And Harriet Tubman ended up getting an award from Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria was so impressed by her. And this is, she wanted to know, she was free the first time she moved from a slave state to a free state, but that wasn't enough for her. She wanted to tell an everlasting truth about freedom that would ring across the planet, a message for the ages, and she had to live free in unfree space. It was the only way to bring us all with her. We wouldn't know about Harriet Tubman. She wouldn't inspire us if she had just kept herself free. And she really, it seems like she had no choice in the matter. As soon as she got free, she decided this is what it's like to be free, and then she thought, but what about my family? The whole reason I came here is because I want my family to be free as well. So thank you, my loves, for the bravery of your freedom in spaces of clear limitation, in spaces of muddy reality. Thank you for teaching the difference between privilege and courage, escape and transcendence, reaction and revolution. Your endurance inscribes an eternal alternative. Carried by bottlenoses and bottles, blood and breath, message honored, message received. So this idea of remembering is tied closely to our core belief of interconnectedness, divine wisdom, and the power of consciousness. This is the universal continuity of life and the universal intelligence of all beings. By shedding limiting beliefs and embracing the higher truth of our divine nature, we align with the ultimate goal of life, as stated by Ernest Holmes, a complete freedom from all discord of every nature. Through this journey, we manifest our fullest potential. Ernest Holmes says, a new light is coming into the world. We are on the borderland of a new experience. A new light is coming into the world. We are on the borderland of a new experience. We're seeing the death throes of an old experience, or the transformation, I think, of an old experience. So a couple weeks ago when I talked, I was talking about the Bhagavad Gita and some of the effect it had on the world. And in particular, the lesson that week was that we should follow our true path, and we should do what we think is right without attachment to the results. So we can't be disappointed if we fail, as long as we do what's right. Because who knows what failure really is. You know, sometimes when we look back at our lives, often things that I considered miserable failures at the time taught me something so important for something I was yet to do. So that's one lesson from Krishna. Another one, Krishna says to Arjuna, anger clouds your judgment. You can no longer learn from past mistakes when you're angry. Lost is the power to choose between what's wise and unwise. So anger is sort of a mixed emotion. It gets a bad rap for a good reason. You sort of lose your judgment, but you get a lot of energy. Well-directed anger. Anger can help pull you out of apathy, but you have to be very careful. And if you don't know what's like right and true to do, it's good to leave anger out of it. And this was important, you know, as I've told you before. I love living on the same street as my grandchildren. In particular, our grandson Q is 7 years old. And every morning at 5:55, he comes to our house for breakfast and games and fun until we bring him to school. And on Tuesday, and when it's not school, it's baseball camp and summer school. He has activities constantly during the year. And it's always 5:55 so that mom can get to work on time. And on Tuesday, he came, and we were playing with him, but whenever he didn't win, like, even a dice roll in a game, he was furious. And he wouldn't eat any of his breakfast. And at some point, he was crying, and he was saying, I'm so hungry. And we're saying, well, there's your breakfast. And he says, I can't eat it. What if we feed it to you? No, I'm hungry. We're like, ugh. And this is where it was really easy to get angry. This is just impossible. He was making life impossible. And we managed to make it through that morning, but we thought we cannot handle many more mornings like this. We did give him extra snacks so that when he came home from baseball camp, he was actually in a good mood. But Christy called his mom, and we found out what had gone on was he had stayed up way late the night before. And he actually sometimes has a hard time going to bed, but he's always at our house at 5:55. So he was just like desperate for sleep. You know how cranky you can get sometimes when you're incredibly sleep deprived. So on Wednesday, he came in, and I said, okay, take your backpack off, take your shoes off, let's go back to bed. He's like, what? Like, no, you don't have to go to sleep. Just lay in bed just for a minute, humor me. He laid in bed and woke up an hour and a half later. Much better mood. And so that's become our new routine. Come in the house, take off your shoes and your backpack, go and lay in bed, and then wake up when you naturally would wake up. And so this is Krishna's message to Arjuna. And I should say, you know, just to explain it redundantly, Krishna is it's the handle of God. It's the way we talk. Krishna represents God in us, the wisdom in us, the God that we can access. Arjuna is sort of the everyman. Arjuna represents our storyteller. Arjuna represents our fear. Arjuna is sort of an everyman who wants to do well and is really caught up on all these emotions and trying to do the right thing. So, Gandhi. Mohandas Gandhi was a big follower of the Bhagavad Gita. He was also a follower of overthrows civil disobedience. And I think a couple weeks ago I talked about how he and Martin Luther King Jr. brought civil disobedience into the jail cells with them, which was helpful because civil disobedience really reframes jail as being a place where you can find God, a place where there is God in everyone and God in everything. And there's peace and quiet in jail, so you can connect with the Godness within you. Gandhi spent 20 years in South Africa running a campaign of civil disobedience in order to get rights, social rights, legal rights for Indians living in South Africa. There's a large, I think there were 1 million Indians living in South Africa, and they're treated as third-class citizens. And he spent a long time in jail, and he got to have the message, digest the message of the Bhagavad Gita. Then he came to India, where he was greeted as a hero by all the Indian liberation people. And they said, okay, why don't you do for us what you did in South Africa? And he said, well, I have to do research first. And so he spent 7 months riding third class on trains around India and going to every part of India to see what was going on. And it made him so angry. He was so angry at the Brits for so mistreating the Indians. He was so angry at the Maharajas for glorying in their jewels and their fineries and their palaces and not doing anything to help the Indians. He was mad at the Indians for being so servile and subservient to the Brits and putting up with this, and for mistreating each other. And when he spoke at his first conference in India, he just laid into everybody. He was furious at every single person in India. And he was like, this is not going to help me run a civil disobedience movement. This is not satyagraha, is love, it's truth and nonviolence. So what he did was he created an ashram, the Saraswati ashram, which was, no, that's the wrong name of the river. His ashram was named after a river, and it's the Sabarmati ashram. The Saraswati River, if anyone cares, is the one Arjuna and Krishna were on. The Sabarmati is Gandhi's ashram river. And it's in Gujarat, which is a part of India. It's in the northwest of India, next to what's now Pakistan. And he created this ashram, and he brought his friends, he brought people who were willing to connect with God, who wanted to think holy thoughts, who wanted to move together and figure out the truth of who they were. And he did meditation. He also did a lot of mindfulness. And you've probably seen pictures of him or movies of him spinning yarn, turning wool into fabric. And he did that because that was a mindfulness exercise. He could keep himself in the moment. Like in this moment, I remember the truth of who I am. So Gandhi could remember the truth of who he was whenever he paid attention to this moment, instead of being mad at somebody because they weren't acting to the British the way he wanted them to. They wanted him to come up with civil disobedience for India. And they kept asking him, they kept visiting him and saying, so what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And he said, have a cup of tea. He's like, I'm not holding out on you. I don't know what we're going to do yet. And he was meditating. He was trying to clear his consciousness until he knew what the right thing was to do. And one day he knew what it was. It was about salt, because the British had a tax on salt, and Indians were not allowed to buy salt from other Indians. You had to buy salt from the English people. Salt is actually necessary for life. In our over-salted society, it's hard to understand, but if you're ever in a situation where you don't have any salt for months, your body's going to break down. So that won't happen to any of us. Your body would if that were to, but we have plenty of salt. But these guys had to buy salt from the Brits. And so what he did was he started a 241-mile march to the sea where they were going to collect salt. And loads of people did it. They did it all over India. The Brits ended up arresting 60,000 people for it, but it was completely nonviolent. And what was nice was that it was such a natural thing to do. And how could you fault anybody for, walking down to the sea where there's salt water? There's oceans of salt water. And all they did is put it in a pot and cook off the water, and then you have all the salt you need. And Indians would sell each other salt, which they got arrested for. But as we know, India eventually got freedom. And it was thanks to the idea of getting beyond the anger, taking the right action, independent of whether the action was going to succeed. He knew he had to sit in his ashram and meditate and be mindful until he knew what was right. And, sometimes you don't know what's right until you know what's right. You know what's wrong. I mean, he had plenty of ideas which he didn't follow. So, one of the things Krishna asked Arjuna when Arjuna was sitting down asking for advice, besides the angry part, he said, "Do you remember the god Indra?" And Arjuna was proud of what he knew about Indra. I'll fill you in. Indra was their version of Thor or Jupiter. He was the god of thunder, the god of weather, the god of lightning, sometimes the king of the gods. And Krishna told him a story about Indra. Indra at one part wove a giant net, and at every vertex of every net there was a colorful gem, a bright gem. And then he tossed that so that it covered the whole universe. So there's a web covering the whole universe with gems at every intersection where the web and the woof of the fabric connect at the vertex. And each of those gems is a soul. And so each of us have our own individual part. We are unique, we're invaluable. If anyone doesn't do their dharma, doesn't follow their dharma, the net gets a hole in it. And the souls carrying next to it have to hold even harder to keep it together. And so this was Arjuna's message, Krishna's message to Arjuna. We each have our role to play, and it's important for us to play it. And if we can do it without anger, we'll be more powerful. If we can do it in the moment, we can connect to the whole universe. So like Harriet Tubman, who knew that she was not destined to be an enslaved person. She knew that she had to be free, and then as soon as she was free, she knew that she had to go back and free others. Like I figured out when my grandson was acting like a complete jerk, the anger wasn't the answer. I've tried that. It doesn't work. And what was the answer was information. We found out that this is how he behaves. This is how he looks if he's got insufficient sleep. Like Gandhi, who figured out you need to first look after your soul. You have to look after your peace. The way you gain resilience is by leaning into the godness within you and knowing that you are that. We do this, and like Goma, we can look at a situation like Goma, a city filled with refugees, with civil war. We can say, what these guys really need is electricity. And you could be right. It turns out that that's just what they needed. Renewable electricity is a good thing. It's possible. The more we have them, the more we'll have of them. And it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning of a transformation of our planet into renewable energy and into people watching out for one another. By the way, that's Eric Schmidt of Google, who's funding the power plants in Africa. So I'm biased. I think that there are good billionaires in the world. Not all of them. But we in the Northwest actually have a bunch of them, at least a handful. At least two. Um, so I want us all to remember to look for the good, the true, and the beautiful. When you're following your labyrinthine path, know that there's always good, and if you stay mindful, you'll be able to achieve what your goal is. And let's say this together. In this moment, I remember the truth of who I am. In this moment, I remember the truth of who I am. In this moment, I remember the truth of who I am. And I can see you, I can tell you are all gems. And you are here to brighten the world and find the good, the true, and the beautiful. Thank you. So you should be able to find a prayer card on your seats, and I always encourage you to go for the prayer demonstration first. I think this is because I'm an engineer. It helps me to know that what I'm doing, to find evidence of that what I'm doing works. And so when you write down any time you've ever dreamed or wished for something and it manifested, that is a demonstration. And then your prayers, you can write a prayer for the world, for yourself, for anyone, a prayer of celebration, a prayer of need. It goes to our practitioners who pray over it all week, and so the prayer gets well diffused into the godness of the world, so it will manifest. So it is manifesting as you write it.
Same lie before you start to believe it. The enemy keeps whispering to me, I swear these days it's all that I'm hearing. I used to know who I was, now I look in the mirror, I'm not so sure. And I don't want to listen to the lies anymore. The truth is I am a divine child. I make it proud, I make it smile. It's made in the image of everything. It looks at me and wouldn't change a thing. The truth is I'm truly loved by one who's whole when I am not enough and I don't belong to the lies. I belong to you, and that's the truth. When I feel like there's so much noise living rent-free in my head, heaven finds me a still small voice, and it sounds like grace instead. And you remind me who I am when I look in the mirror, and I'm not so sure. Don't wanna listen to the lies anymore. The the truth. I know who I am, 'cause I know who you are. And I hold your truth inside of my heart. I know the lies are always gonna try and find me, but I've never been so sure. The truth is I am a divine child. I make it proud, I make it smile. I was made in the image of everything. It looks at me, it wouldn't change a thing. The truth is I am deeply loved by one who's whole when I'm not enough, and I don't belong to the lies. I belong to you, and that's the truth. And that's the truth.
Thank you for the reminder. I'm a divine child. We all are. So we've done this little yellow card, yes. And now we're moving on to our offering. Genesis is a community dedicated to love, inspiring harmony, and creating connections to empower spiritual growth. And we love that you are here to share in that with us. This is an invitation to participate in circulation, to connect with abundance and generosity. Your participation makes all of this possible. We truly appreciate your support. Let us take a moment to craft our financial gift. If you are on Facebook, please visit our website at genesiscsl.org, or you can text your tithe to 206-800-7595. If you feel so inclined, please hold your offering and your prayer request close to your heart and read our offering collection blessing together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am thankful. Gideon's going to come around and collect your offerings and your prayer cards, and while we do that, we're going to sing Stepping Into the Flow.
I'm stepping into the flow, giving and receiving blessings that I know I'm a part of something bigger in of all I am. So grateful. I'm stepping into the flow. So grateful. I'm stepping into the flow.
So it's with gratitude that I acknowledge that we have initiated the law of circulation, that as we give, so shall we receive, pressed down, multiplied, and overflowing into the community of Genesis, into our individual lives, into the bigger community of the world. Our energy goes that far. So I'm grateful for that. Thank you. Please join us after service for food and fellowship. I will be in the alcove over here for a little bit. I would love to give a little prayer if you're up for that. I'm also wishing everyone a week full of joy and love and true connection. Please stand and sing our closing song, I Release. Go forth with joy.